Dena Morosin, and I am living in Klamath Falls, Oregon, down southern Oregon, and this is my 19th year of teaching. This is about my 5th year using Edulastic, and I teach mostly 4th grade, but I've jumped back and forth between grade levels. So I'm kind of going to piggyback on everything that Corey and Latasha said. Yep, thank you. If you want to switch screens, that's perfect. Thanks. So my 4th grade team, there's 3 of us 4th grade teachers, and our 4th grade team has just jumped on board with me in using Edulastic because they were able to see the super powerful data that we can pull from using the assessments in class. And this year, actually, okay, so a few years ago, we started doing standard-based grading in our district. So all of that data really helps us with our grading, but we also started doing math RTI this year. So we are looking at this data to put our students into our RTI groups. So again, you've kind of already seen this graph and this data, but this is a test that I actually just gave my kids last week. And again, piggybacking off of what Corey said, when I give an assessment, I actually have to use an Engage New York assessment. So that's what I tell my administrators, all my questions are pulled from Engage New York so that it is considered an Engage New York assessment. So this was our mid-module 3 assessment. And again, what I love about Edulastic is it gives that immediate feedback, and I can stop and see when I was doing this specific test last week, question number 2, all my kids were missing. And so I went in and I'm like, okay, why are we all missing question number 2? And then like Latasha was saying, it had to do with the question type. So I had to actually stop and teach them how to do that question type because they weren't missing it because they didn't know the math. They were missing it because they didn't understand the question type. So we stopped and we talked about the question type, and I actually think it was a sequencing question, but definitely makes a difference if they understand those different types of questions that they're going to be seeing on the test. And what I noticed on my test, this one, I know that I think Aliana talked about it at the beginning, that green is correct, red is incorrect, yellow is partially correct. And then the blue, this was new to me because you'll see a lot of blue on my students' data, that you can actually go in and hand score that because there's a scratch pad available on it. So they may have the answer right, they may have the answer wrong, but there's an actual scratch pad that the students can use. So you can go in and look at their work that they did on the scratch pad and maybe give them partial credit for something, but you can also see the mistakes that they might be making on their scratch pad. So it's like their note paper that they can use. So also another really helpful teaching tool if you can see what kind of mistakes your students are making. And that's not available on all questions. So that's why just some of those had those, the blue part on it. So this is the overall class data again, and you can see the green is correct answers, yellow is partially correct, and red is incorrect. But the blue dots that go up and down the screen are showing me how much time they spent on each question. So again, even that in itself provides me some data of going, okay, question number 3, they are actually all getting right, and they're really not spending that much time on it. So that's a pretty strong standard. Question number 6 and 7, same thing. They spent very little time on those, but we're getting those correct. So those are probably standards that I can check off at proficient for most of my students. And so again, because we are using this data for our RTI groups, this is one of the reports that we can get. And I don't know, I think it's probably for the premium subscription, but immediately my little pie chart shows me, okay, these are my proficient kids, these are at grade level, and these are below grade level for proficiency on this specific test. So this was just on this one specific test. And I can see, again, my average score for the class and my average, I guess that's it, the average student score and the average score for each student. And then you can see up at the top where it has the different types of reports, and that's what I'm going to go into next. So go ahead and click to the next one. So this is the question analysis. So again, it shows me question number 11 is a question I definitely need to investigate and find out what was going on with my class. Definitely question 11, question 12. Again, I can see definite red flags there. Even question number 4, because again, they spent so much time on it that I would probably want to go in and check those. And in one of the other reports, I actually think it's in the question analysis. If you scroll down on the question analysis, it tells you what standard question 11 was and question 12. And so I can go back, and like Corey was saying, I can go back and pull up just that standard and reteach that standard. Let's go ahead and go to the next screen. So this is the next part of that question analysis that I was just talking about. So it tells me that question 11 is standard NBT A3 and NBT B5. And again, that only 8% of my students got that correct. So I know that that's definitely something that I need to go back and reteach. Again, I see somebody ask, what is RTI? It's response to intervention. So it's how we pull our math groups. So basically, RTI is when we have our below grade level, on grade level, and above grade level kids, and we break them into groups. And so for this, again, we use the standards data to break them into their groups. So we can say, okay, we have these 12 kids that need to work on what would be question number 12. They need to work on OA, A2, and we can target that standard with those specific kids. But again, obviously question 11, I need to reteach the whole class. All right, go ahead and go to the next one. Again, same kind of idea, get the reports by standards. Oh, so report by standards. Again, I know exactly which standards I need to reteach here. That question number 11 was definitely something that we will need to go back and look at. Go ahead and go to the next screen, one forward. Each of those rows is a student data, and I just took the student names off, but again, it breaks it down by standard. And I can really see, okay, here's the kids that are in red, they really need to reteach the standard. And of course, the kids that are in green, then I can move on, and we can move on to higher level standards, move on to different standards. But again, we use it for our intervention groups all through 4th grade. The other 4th grade teachers would give the same assessment, and then we can break our kids up into, okay, well, I'll be realistic. These 30 kids need to work on this standard. These 25 kids need to work on this standard, and these 25 kids need to work on this standard. And we take turns as a PLC, our 4th grade team, creating the assessments. So usually we can't always do it weekly, but bi-weekly for sure, so that we can assess what they've done over 2 weeks. And our math intervention time is outside of our core math time. So we would do this during core math time, see what we need to reteach, and then do the 30-minute reteaching lesson based on this data.
Is there anything else you wanted to say? You said there.
No, like I said, Edulastic is just amazing for the things that are all coming at us right now with math intervention groups and standard-based grading. The data that it provides is amazing. And again, tagging off Latasha, preparing them for the test, it gives them those different question types, and it really, really helps prepare them for the test.